It's real. It's really real. I can't believe this is happening. This is insane. What's up, you guys? It's Friggin Nerd Mario from Friggin Nerds Gaming, bringing you guys the gaming news you guys care about. Today, we are talking about the amazing trailer that was such a surprise to see that dropped at yesterday's PlayStation State of Play. Of course, we're talking about IO Interactive's 007 First Light. Now, we knew they were going to talk about this weekend, possibly during Summer Game Fest, because they announced they're going to be doing a special IO Interactive showcase, but instead they gave us a little early peek at a full-length trailer, and I think it is perfect. In today's video, we're going to talk about everything we know so far about 007 First Light, but before that, I do want to talk about my thoughts on the trailer and what I saw. First big piece of news, we get to finally see what James Bond looks like. Big news for fans of Dexter, the original sin. Patrick Gibson, best known for his role as young Dexter Morgan, has officially been announced to play James Bond, which must be the coolest thing for him. Like, it's one thing to be cast as James Bond in the movie, but kind of cool to be the first sort of original James Bond in a game. It must be a very cool experience. I can only imagine it's kind of like Yuri in Spider-Man from Insomniac. He gets to be his own Spider-Man. It must be such a cool feeling. The trailer overall is such a love letter to James Bond, and it does actually start with James Bond, which this was pointed out to me by my good pal Dylan Titus over at Connery Curious. The details with the scar on his face and sort of the hair, it's very accurate to the Bond novels. Bond has a big scar on his face, so I think right off the bat, that's like, okay, some love there. Listening to the music in the trailer, they play the theme from Her Majesty's Secret Service. We're seeing the Aston Martin Vantage that Timothy Dalton drove in his movies. There's so much love being dropped in this already, even just from the set designs. I was super pleased to see The Walking Dead's Lenny James in M's office at the beginning, so that struck me right away. Then I'm like, okay, we have actual celebrities in this, so I'm excited to see who else might show up in this. But I think it's such a perfect looking game. Very little gameplay we saw on it, but we'll talk about it in a minute. But overall, I think the trailer was super hype. I'm sure we have a video on the channel of me reacting to the trailers. If you want to see that, go check that out. Overall, amazing. Now let's talk about what we know here. It looks like we got a decent amount of information, but again, we're going to get more information this weekend, so by the time you see this video, we might already have more information, but let's just talk about what we see so far. Definitely have the gunplay in here. Looks like it's going to be third person, which I'm fine with. A lot of the better Bond games have been third person, so I think that's going to be fine. I'd be interested to see a first person mode, but looking at IO Interactive's other projects like Hitman, those are third person and they work just fine. It looks like we might be doing some more spy stuff other than shooting around. There's a scene of him in a hotel room with a disguise on. I want to be able to put disguises on, sneak into places, in hotels, all these beautiful locations, because that's one thing I feel like a James Bond game can lack sometimes, is just doing spy stuff. A lot of them are kind of Call of Duty shooters where you're just walking around and shooting through a level. I want some stealth. I want some different gameplay mechanics. I think this could be really cool. We even saw some gadget action. We get to see a shot of Q Lab, and we get to actually see Q for a hot second, and we're seeing certain gadgets being used. We see his iconic laser watch being used as a weapon, and of course, if you've played all the Bond games, you always know you keep the laser watch on hand just in case. And like I mentioned before, we do see some Aston Martin love, so I can only imagine we're getting driving, which was something massive that I really wanted in this Bond game, because yes, there are awesome moments to be had action wise, but one very iconic feature of James Bond has always been the cars. So I hope we get to kind of switch to other classic cars. I appreciate seeing the Dalton Aston Martin in it, but it'd be cool to see the Goldfinger Aston Martin DB5, maybe even the Pierce Brosnan Vanquish. It'd be cool to have those different sort of sets. That being said, at the end of the trailer, they showcased a little bit of a unlockable cosmetic by signing up to IO's account to unlock the on-duty outfit and the Gilded Wraith weapon skin. The outfit itself is a callback to Live and Let Die with Roger Moore. That looks so good. And of course, you had to have that golden gun, which is a staple in 007 games. And I really feel like they're hitting the nail on the head with this game. I think it's going to be insane. Last but not least, the story. It's confirmed. 007 is not exactly 007 yet. We have the intro with a new M, by the way, talking about James Bond. He's sort of reckless. He's a young guy, and they're considering putting him in the 00 program. So we already knew this was sort of a origin story of James Bond becoming 007. I could only compare it to Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. It's very interesting that they're going down this road, but I'm very excited because I think this has the potential to have multiple games. So once we get through this, then we'll have another Bond game following that where you're actually 007 and so on and so forth. I think you can do so much with this franchise, like the Hitman franchise. Like, I think this could be very successful because Lord knows us James Bond fans starve sometimes when it comes to gaming. We haven't had a game in a very, very long time. So I really do hope IO Interactive can bring James Bond back to the forefront of fandom, and we can pump out more of these games, and I think it's going to be a amazing experience. Being someone who just finished the Indiana Jones game, was just hungry for something like that in a Bond game, and sure, this is going to be very different, but playing that indie game truly made me feel like Indiana Jones. So going into this game, I truly hope I feel like James Bond, because don't we all want to feel like James Bond? But man, that's all I have to say about 007 First Light. In the comment section below, let me know your thoughts on the trailer, what you're excited about, and features you want to see in the game. If you guys aren't subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscription button right now and notification bell, because we're going to be covering this game heavy. For more things 007 First Light, be sure to stay locked on Friggin Nerds Gaming. Until next time, stay friggin nerdy.